What's up, Dragon Brood? I think we've only got 2 more decks we'll be putting up after this one before the set goes live. So we'll have a couple more that should be going live on Thursday morning whenever the set's available. So you'll have those. But yeah, we're going to be playing, or at least I keep saying playing because I'm used to doing those gameplay videos. But we're going to be taking a look at an Abzan Enchantment deck here. And this actually has potential to be very cool, getting to play a good variety of new cards, which I think people haven't seen in a deck list yet. So that should be very cool. Also, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button because that helps a lot. Remember to choose all notification when you click the notification bell to make sure you get all these updates when these deck videos come out and when I start posting the gameplay with a lot of these. But for now, let's go take a look at Abzan Enchantments. Alright, this one had to go into the lab a little bit deeper on to get where we wanted to go on this one. But I think it's actually a pretty sweet list. We played some different varieties of enchantment-based decks over the last season that all managed to work. So we're going to dive in here and see what we can do here a little bit. So we're starting with Juco Naturalist, which is a new card that's a green and a white for a 2/2 lifelink. Enchantment spells you cast cost 1 less. Well, we're playing a crap ton of enchantments in this list, so everything costing less is great. It does give us a little bit of lifelink, so if we just have to chump block something or whatever, gain a couple of life, that's good. So it's a quality card all around to have in this type of list. One of the other cards we're trying out is Lithoform Blight, mostly because it's an additional way to draw cards, which we like, but it can slow your opponent down. It does potentially do some incremental amounts of damage, so we like everything it's doing. It's just a matter, is it enough? Don't know, but I think it's actually a good reason to include it into this deck is the cantrip, the card drawing ability, But, there's going to be quite a few decks that are trying to do 3-color things, I believe, and this will shut some of those down because you kind of make their special lands not be as special. And then we have Spirited Companion. This is a card we included in our other enchantment list, and I kind of wanted it here as well. Like, it does just draw, I say just, in quotes, like just draws a card, but it is a 2-mana 1/1. It's still a blocker, still does things. And there's some other stuff in the deck that can make it beneficial as well. But being a blocker and replacing itself is a pretty reasonable solution here. And it might be cheaper if you have a naturalist out. So who knows? Meathook Massacre. We're playing 3 of them. I don't know what to say about it. Right? Like, we have very few creatures, so we're not really worried about the Meathook Massacre all that much. But card's just good. I mean, I want to say more bad things about it, but the card's good, and we know it at this point. 2 Borrowed Times. This is just kind of assisting some of our other removal options, buying us a little bit of time, maybe letting us take out a Planeswalker from the opponent, that maybe a Meathook can't kill or something. But overall, not a bad card, and it's an enchantment and checks the boxes for us. Now, another new card we're trying out here is also an uncommon. So far, we've only added new uncommons and commons to this list. But Gloomshrieker, it's a colorless black-green for a 2/1 menace. And when it enters the battlefield, you can return target permanent from your graveyard to your hand. And then if it dies, we exile it. Now, the cool part is that actually says permanent. So we can get a creature, artifact, enchantment, whatever. Get a land if you want to, because it says a permanent, which is pretty neat. Being able to get anything back if your opponent gets rid of it is pretty fantastic. And, occasionally it's just going to attack pretty well having menace. We are playing 2 Catilda Dawnheart Martyr because Catilda's really good, especially since we have a bunch of enchantments. And then on the backside, it gets to turn a creature into a big creature effectively. So nothing to complain about there. We're playing 2 copies of the Celestis because, 1, we're playing 3 colors and being able to hit all of our mana is really good. The other is that it does help us filter and draw. And wouldn't you know it, it also lets us put stuff in the graveyard. Why is that important? Well, it's one of the reasons we're playing stuff like Gloomshrieker. So if we have to toss something away, we can get it back later, which is pretty sweet, right? And it's going to be some incremental life gain and whatever. So it's kind of the only card not really working totally with our plan, but at least helps assist in finding the cards we want and being able to cast them effectively. We're playing only 2 copies of Wedding Announcement. I actually wanted a 3rd one of these, but just ran out of room after a point because this is a pretty mana-intensive deck, and I wanted to make sure we had more lands in here. So a spot had to be given up to take out a Wedding Announcement. We are playing 3 Binding of the Old Gods. This is just kind of a catch-all removal, and it ramps, so we can put a land into play. I mean, it's kind of tough, right? The fact that Binding of the Gods was like super hotly played for what felt like 6 months or so, and then sort of just fell off, and then nobody really played it all that much anymore. But I think if you're playing this type of deck, it's an enchantment, it's a removal card, it's a ramp card. Like, it checks a lot of boxes for what we're trying to do. So I think we got to go ahead and play this. So I just realized when I'm putting this list together, I miskeyed a Boseiju, which shouldn't be this Boseiju. It should have been a regular land one. So we'll have another land in the list, so we'll just ignore that for the time being. But we do have 2 Felidar Retreats, which is another enchantment. It can help us make creatures to block with. It can pump the creatures we do have. So we do like that quite a lot in here. And then we have Hallowed Haunting. We're playing a full 4 of these. And mostly because if you can get a couple, even just one of these to stick, it's very powerful. If you get 2 to stick, it starts to become kind of overwhelming for your opponent, because it's very quickly it scales pretty quick when you have multiples, right? It's very easy when everything's an enchantment to be able to get to, 4 or 6 triggers and really get some huge creatures. And, it helps that our creatures are actually enchantments as well. And, a couple of our enchantments draw cards. So it's very easy to pop off a couple of cards in a row there. So we're going to cross our fingers and hope it does what we want it to do. And then one of the new cards that we're playing here is Spirit Sister's Call. It's 3 colorless, black-white. It's an enchantment, and during your end step, you can sacrifice a permanent, and then you can return a card that is in your graveyard that shares a type with it to your hand. So most of the time in this deck, we're going to be removing an enchantment to return an enchantment to our hand. This is a good way that if, say, we got our Hallowed Haunting removed for some reason, along the way, we can go get that back. Or maybe we need another removal and we want to get back a Binding of the Old Gods that's now in the graveyard, right? So this is going to kind of give us a few different opportunities here that we like. And the best part is we can sacrifice enchantment creatures because they are both creatures and enchantment. That gives us that extra versatility if we want. So we really, really like that a lot. And then we're playing 1 Storm the Festival because we have a bunch of permanents, so why not play Storm the Festival, right? The rest of the deck is the lands. There's that other Boseiju we were just talking about. We have 4 Branch Off Pathway, 4 Bright Climb Pathway, 4 Darkboard Pathway, so a full set, and I think that's the right play whenever you're playing 3 colors. 1 Eiganjo, which we're going to use as just some extra removal. 1 Lair of the Hydra. We have 3 overgrown farmland, 4 Sheltered Sanctums, 1 forest, 1 plains, and 1 swamp. However, I may be looking to cut the Lair of the Hydra and play an additional forest potentially, because I don't see that many situations where we would be activating that as our kill mechanism, just because we have a bunch of things that can get around and survive board wipes. I don't know if we necessarily need that. So I'd probably replace it with a land that's likely to not come into play tapped and give us more opportunities to play stuff. And honestly, even having another forest is pretty good with the Bindings of the Old Gods, honestly. So we're probably just going to do that. But yeah, overall, that's the deck. Now, in the early stages, the one thing this deck could suffer from could be if there's some quality hyper aggro deck that also has ways to get rid of enchantments really well. That could be a little bit of a problem. Don't know what the early format's going to look like. But besides that, I think this has the ability to hold off the opponents early on. With enough of your small creatures, you do have some stuff that makes creatures. And then you also have stuff like Meathook Massacre that could buy you the time that you need. But you also have the ability to play the long game with stuff like Hallowed Haunting, Felidar Retreat. So if you are playing against those heavy, constant sweeper decks, whatever, like you can keep getting this stuff back out over and over again. The only thing I would say is because we know stuff like Farewell exists, you don't necessarily want to play out all of your enchantments. Like you may have to sit back on some, knowing that they could exile your stuff and that would suck. So give yourself at least the opportunity to follow up and kind of keep continuing after that. But yeah, let me know what you think about this deck. If there's some other cards you'd be interested to see in this style of deck, are you playing one like it already or planning to anyway? And, please, if you haven't considered, check out the join button down here and consider supporting the channel for as little as 99 cents. Otherwise, remember to like this video because that helps so very much. Share it with somebody who may be interested in this style of deck. And then remember to hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. And be so kind as hit that notification bell and choose all notifications so you don't miss a video when I'm putting out these deck lists or when I'm putting out gameplay. But that's all I have for you for now. We'll see you next time.